1880, the British Cape Colony believed they could disarm any nation with a simple decree. They were wrong. This is the story of the Gunwartha conflict, so embarrassing to the British. They had to communicate in ancient Greek just to keep their secrets from being read by the enemy. It all started with a piece of paper. The Peace Preservation Act of 1878. The Cape Colony, expanding its influence across southern Africa, wanted to control the flow of firearms. But for the LESOTHO people, guns weren't just weapons. They were tools, status, symbols, and property they had earned. They had traveled to the diamond mines of Kimberley, trading their hard labor for modern rifles. They were, in fact, one of the best armed nations in the region. The tension simmered, but the breaking point came in 1879. The British-backed administration did unjust demand the LESOTHO hand their guns. They doubled the hut tax, a crippling financial blow, and brutally put down a rebellion led by Chief Morosi. The message was clear: submit or be crushed. The LESOTHO chose a third option. Fight while European armies built forts of brick and mortar. The LESOTHO used the earth itself. Their ultimate fortress was Thababosu, the Mountain of Night. This wasn't just a hill, it was a natural citadel, a flat-topped mountain with sheer vertical cliffs on all sides, accessible by only a few narrow, easily defended passages. It was a stronghold that had never fallen to an enemy, a symbol of their resilience. And to navigate this treacherous terrain, they had a secret weapon of their own. The British Empire had its heavy cavalry, powerful chargers bred for open fields. But in the highlands of Lesotho, these horses were useless. The LESOTHO had the pony, a small, stocky, incredibly sure-footed beast that could navigate rocky slopes at a gallop, places where a British horse would stumble and break its legs. This gave the LESOTHO unprecedented mobility. It allowed them to strike and vanish into the mists of the mountains. This was high-speed guerrilla warfare, a century before the term became famous. They used their land and their horses to turn the highlands into a fortress the British could unconquer. In September 1880, the first shots were fired near the settlement of forces. They considered disorganized tribesmen. They expected to roll through the territory, confiscate the guns, and be home in a few weeks. They were about to learn a brutal lesson. On October 19th, a colonial column under Colonel Carrington was marching near Calabaine. The landscape was shrouded in the thick highland mist. Suddenly, the mist parted, appearing as if from nowhere were 3,000 LESOTHO warriors, organized, disciplined. It wasn't the The colonial soldiers weren't fighting scattered groups. They were facing a modern commando force, using sophisticated tactics. The shock was profound. The Cape Column was mauled, and their morale didn't just drop, it shattered. The news from Calabaine sent a shockwave through the colonial command. This was not the war they had planned for. The LESOTHO leaders, particularly chiefs Madatholi and Masafa, were not just brilliant military commanders, they were masters of intelligence. They knew the British relied on messengers to carry orders between their scattered forts, so they simply intercepted the mail. The LESOTHO had a high literacy rate, thanks to early mission schools, and they could read the English dispatches perfectly. The British command was stunned to find their plans were consistently being preempted. They were so terrified of the LESOTHO intelligence network that they were forced to resort to a desperate measure, writing their most secret orders in ancient Greek, hoping no one in the mountains could decipher it. But the LESOTHO were playing a longer game, one of economics. War is expensive, and they knew the Cape Colony's treasury wasn't infinite. In a stroke of strategic genius, they negotiated a temporary 7-day truce. The British thought it was a sign of weakness. It wasn't. The LESOTHO used that week to harvest their crops, ensuring their fighters and families would be well fed for the coming months. Meanwhile, the colonial war effort was bleeding money. By 1881, the cost of the war had spiraled to over £3 million. A staggering, politically ruinous sum for the time. The LESOTHO were fighting a sustainable war on their own turf, while the invaders were going bankrupt. The British were fought to a standstill. Exhausted, politically embarrassed, and nearly bankrupt, they had to face reality. They couldn't win. To make matters worse, another conflict, the First Boer War, was erupting on their other flank. demanding their attention and resources. And so, in April 1881, they offered a settlement, known as the Award. It was a face-saving gesture, but in reality, it was a LESOTHO victory. The disarmament decree was repealed. The LESOTHO kept their guns. They kept their land. They had taken on the might of the British Empire and forced it to back down. Look at a map of South Africa today. In the very heart of the country, you'll see a geographic anomaly. An entire, independent nation, completely surrounded by another. That hole in the map is the Kingdom of Lesotho. Its existence is a direct legacy of the gun war. Because they refused to be disarmed. Because they fought the empire to a stalemate. Lesotholand, as it was then known, was never absorbed into the Union of South Africa when it was formed in 1910. It remained a British protectorate and eventually gained its own independence. History is often written by the victors' book sometimes. The most important victors are the ones the history books try to forget. The story of the gun war is a testament to a people who used their intelligence, their environment, and their unbreakable will to defend their freedom. Don't let them be forgotten. Thanks for watching.